Some places are meant to be forgotten. Some doors should never be opened, and some rentals aren't meant for guests. You think you're safe when you book an Airbnb. You think no one is watching. But what if someone or something was already inside, waiting, watching your every move, listening to every sound? Tonight, I'm going to tell you the story of a traveler who thought they were alone. A story so terrifying, it will make you question every Airbnb you ever stay in. Stay with me, if you dare. I'm Emily, and I love traveling alone. I booked a small Airbnb in an old Victorian house. Cheap, charming, and tucked away on a quiet street. The host seemed nice, and the reviews were glowing. The first day was uneventful. I explored the nearby streets, enjoyed the quiet, and told myself I'd get some much-needed rest. The house looked cozy from the outside, but the inside had an eerie stillness, as if it were waiting for something. That first night, the house creaked with every gust of wind. I told myself it was normal, but then I noticed a door in the hallway I hadn't seen in the photos. It was old, covered in dust, and locked with a rusty padlock. When I asked the host about it, he smiled nervously. "Oh, that room? It's just storage. No one goes in there." The uneasy feeling didn't go away. I tried to ignore it and went to bed. Around 2 a.m., I woke to scratching noises outside my bedroom door. Soft whispers followed, almost forming words, but I couldn't understand them. My heart raced. Then, footsteps paced the hallway, slowly, deliberately. The locked door creaked slightly, though no one was touching it. I pulled the covers over my head and tried to convince myself it was the wind. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. I couldn't stop thinking about the door the next day. Curiosity got the better of me. I found a paperclip in my bag and, carefully, picked the lock. The door opened with a groan. I peeked inside. First, it looked empty, but as my eyes adjusted to the dim light, the walls were covered in photographs. I stepped closer, horrified. Each photo was of a guest in the house, sleeping, their faces frozen in terror. Some were blurry, others crystal clear. And then I saw it, a fresh photo lying on the floor, face up. It was me, sleeping. The timestamp said, "Tonight." I screamed and stumbled backward. The door slammed shut behind me with a deafening bang. I kicked it, shouted, begged, but it wouldn't budge. I ran to the front door. The host wasn't answering. Every window I tried was locked, as if the house itself was holding me inside. My heart pounded. The photographs seemed to stare at me from the wall, as if alive. I searched the house, trying to find another exit. In the attic, I found more photographs. Old newspapers scattered about, clipping after clipping about missing people in the area. Some of the missing had stayed in this house. Others had never been found. And now I realized, the room hadn't chosen me by accident. It had been waiting. That night, the shadows moved differently. They weren't just cast by the furniture. They moved independently. I could hear whispers again, but this time louder, angrier. The floorboards groaned as if someone or something was pacing above me. My fear grew. Every instinct screamed at me to leave, but I couldn't find a way out. I spent hours trying every door, every window. It was as if the house had changed. Corridors stretched farther than they should. Rooms appeared where there were none before. The whispers became voices, chanting my name over and over. I could feel eyes on me, watching my every move. The room I had opened earlier, its door now completely sealed, hiding something unspeakable inside. In a burst of desperation, I smashed a window and jumped outside. The street looked the same, but the Victorian house loomed larger, darker. Its windows glowed faintly in the night, like eyes following me. I ran down the street, not looking back, but I could feel the house watching, waiting, always waiting. I reported the Airbnb to the platform, but the listing was gone. The host's account disappeared. Other people claimed the house had been empty for years, yet somehow it had found new victims. I don't know how it worked, whether it was haunted, cursed, or something far worse. But I know one thing. It had wanted me, and I had barely escaped. I've never stayed in an Airbnb alone since. I warn anyone traveling alone. Some houses are more than they seem. Some doors shouldn't be opened, and some rooms should never exist. If you ever find yourself in a rental with a door that seems out of place, don't open it. Don't even look inside. Some things want you trapped forever. Mark arrived at the cabin in the late afternoon. The sun was setting behind the mountains, casting long shadows across the property. The Airbnb looked exactly like the photos. Rustic, wooden, with large glass windows overlooking the forest. The host had left a key under a mat and a note welcoming him. "Enjoy your stay. We won't disturb you." Mark smiled, thinking it was the perfect retreat from the city. Mark unpacked his bag, set up his laptop, and poured himself a cup of coffee. Everything seemed peaceful, almost too peaceful as night fell. He noticed the forest outside growing darker and shadows stretching unnaturally along the walls of the cabin. Mark tried to sleep, but he felt like he wasn't alone. From the living room came the faint creak of floorboards. Though he was the only one there at first, he dismissed it as the house settling. But then, the sound of whispering came from the hallway outside his room. The next morning, Mark explored the cabin. He noticed a small door in the corner of the living room that hadn't been in the photos. It was locked, with scratches around the handle. Curiosity gnawed at him. Who could have been in this cabin before him? Later, Mark set up his camera to record his stay for a vlog. Reviewing the footage that night, he froze. There was a tiny blinking light in the corner of the room, a camera he hadn't noticed before. Someone had been recording the cabin, and maybe even him. That night, he heard footsteps outside the cabin. A shadow passed the window. Mark rushed to check, but no one was there. Yet, when he turned around, he saw a note on the table. "We've been watching you." Mark searched the cabin and found a hidden journal. It belonged to a previous guest, someone named Lisa, who wrote about strange noises and cameras in the walls. The last entry said, "I think it knows my every move. I can't leave." A chill ran down Mark's spine. From that night on, Mark felt eyes on him wherever he went. Even in the shower, he sensed a presence. He started noticing small signs. His belongings moved slightly, messages on his laptop appearing out of nowhere. Someone or something was inside the cabin, watching him. Trying to distract himself, Mark decided to explore the forest behind the cabin. But the trees seemed alive, shifting as if following him. Between the shadows, he glimpsed figures that vanished the moment he turned. The feeling of being hunted intensified. That night, Mark woke to whispers right next to his bed. He froze, unable to move. That a dark shape hovered near the doorway. When he blinked, it vanished, but he could still feel it watching from the corner of the room. Mark checked the journal again and found that previous renters had disappeared. Lisa's final entry hinted at secret tunnels beneath the cabin, cameras hidden everywhere, and the host being involved. Panic surged through him. He had to leave. He tried the front door. Locked. The back door. Also locked. Windows wouldn't budge. The cabin had become a trap, and he realized someone had anticipated his every move. Mark found a vent in the floorboards leading to a dark tunnel. He crawled inside, hoping it would lead to safety. The tunnel smelled damp and metallic, and the walls were scratched with warnings. "Leave now or stay forever." As he moved through the tunnel, he heard faint whispers of previous guests, voices calling his name. Pleading for help, he ran, following the faint light at the end of the tunnel, but the whispers grew louder, desperate. At the end of the tunnel, Mark found a hidden room. Inside were monitors showing every angle of the cabin, and himself sleeping, eating, exploring. The host appeared behind the monitors, grinning. "You can't leave." None of them did. Mark smashed a monitor and bolted back through the tunnel. Doors slammed shut on their own behind him. He could hear footsteps pursuing him, closer and closer. The tunnel led to a basement, filled with remnants of previous guests. Clothes, shoes, personal items, all left behind. A single message on the wall. "You're next." Mark's stomach turned. He had to keep moving. He found a service door leading outside, but the forest around the cabin was thick and unwelcoming. Branches tore at his clothes and face. The feeling of being hunted never left. Every shadow in the woods seemed alive. Every noise amplified his fear. Mark finally reached the main road at dawn, and no cars, no people. Just empty wilderness. He collapsed on the ground, exhausted, thinking he was safe. Then, in the distance, he saw a figure standing at the cabin, watching him leave. Weeks later, Mark received a package. Inside was a photo of the cabin, taken from inside his bedroom. Attached was a note: "We've been waiting." Mark never stayed at an Airbnb again, and he warns anyone traveling alone. Some rentals are meant to trap you and watch you forever. I'm David, and I travel a lot for work. One weekend, I booked a secluded Airbnb in a quiet mountain town. The listing looked perfect: modern, stylish, and isolated. The host promised privacy, saying no one would meet me. Exactly what I wanted. The first night was uneventful. I unpacked, had a drink, and settled in. But as the clock struck midnight, I heard something odd: the faintest scratching on the living room floor. I told myself it was the house settling, or maybe an animal outside. Then my phone buzzed. A notification from the Airbnb app. Someone is inside. I froze. I was the only guest. My heart raced. I checked every door and window, locked. No one was there. I tried to sleep, but the scratches grew louder, accompanied by whispering voices. At first, I couldn't understand them. Then I heard my name, repeated over and over. David, David. I left my bedroom and cautiously entered the living room. That's when I saw it. A camera in the corner, blinking red. I hadn't seen it before. I smashed it. The whispering stopped. For a moment, relief. But then, the living room door slammed shut on its own. The lights flickered, and on my laptop, a new file appeared. A video of me sleeping, recorded tonight. Panicking, I ran to the front door. Locked. Windows stuck. I tried the back door, also locked. Then I noticed a small door beneath the staircase I hadn't seen before. Desperate, I opened it. Inside, a narrow stairwell led down into darkness. I descended carefully. At the bottom, I found a hidden room. Monitors lined the walls, showing live footage from every corner of the Airbnb. And then I saw it. The host, smiling, typing on a keyboard. "You really shouldn't have come here," he said. I grabbed a metal bar from the wall and ran, smashing monitors and trying to escape. The host chased me, but I managed to sprint up the stairs and break a window, cutting my arm on the glass. I ran into the night, screaming, until I reached the main road. Police later found the house abandoned. The host's account was gone. Cameras, files, evidence, everything vanished. But I know the truth. That Airbnb, it knew me, watched me, and it's still out there, waiting for the next guest.